It's done. It's out there. I DIY'd myself an album and released it. But was it a good idea? Was it a good idea to do it all by myself? What would I have done differently? What are the lessons learned? If you're new here, hi, I'm CARO J. I'm a singer-songwriter and producer, and I just released an album that I completely made here from home by myself. I've been writing songs my whole life, but up until 3 years ago, I knew nothing about recording and production. But I was determined to make myself an album, and I did. If you want to know more about that process, I shared my journey here on YouTube. I will link the playlist up here somewhere. But for now, let's get into a reflection on the good, the bad, and the pineapple. Let's start with the biggest question. Was this a good idea? Would I recommend it to a friend? Well, yes. Definitely yes. I am so glad I did this. Actually, I am grateful for actually pulling through and being dedicated to this and staying on track even when I found it difficult, because now I have developed the skills to make music from home by myself, not depending on anyone, and something that I will be able to do for the rest of my life, and it will only get better and more fun. So regardless of just the album itself as a product, I'm so excited about all the things I've learned and what I will be able to do with that in the future. However, I do certainly wish I had done some things differently. Some things that would have made the process so much more enjoyable. So let's get into that. The first is, I wish I started out with more realistic expectations about the quest I was about to embark on. Well, maybe not that realistic expectations that would have maybe scared me off. With music, people usually, look up to the artist to sing and dance and perform on stage, play instruments, write the songs. So I thought that is the most difficult thing. And the audio and technical stuff was just about being in an expensive studio and knowing which knobs to turn. Man, was I wrong. I sincerely apologize to all the audio engineers, sound designers, mixing and mastering wizards and producers out there for my ignorance. I had no idea. I wish I had known how much I needed to learn and how much of that was not knowledge, but skills. Skills you need to practice and develop over time. And just like learning how to play an instrument, you need to practice and practice again and again, over and over. And it is very similar with these things. It just takes time and patience. Not my best quality. And if I had known that, I would have not set for myself the expectation to finish this full album and learn everything before July 2022. That was crazy in hindsight. But because I set that expectation, I was disappointed in myself that I didn't reach it. I was actually constantly disappointed in myself and in what I was making, that it was not already sounding the way I wanted it to sound. But it was not necessarily that I wasn't learning fast enough or making fast enough progress, but because I had such unrealistic expectations. And that was not fun. So I really wish I'd known that it just takes time to learn these skills, and it takes practice. I would have approached it with a more long-term vision. I didn't expect myself to get my university degrees in 1 year. I did that one exam, one course at a time. So on that note, the second thing I wish I'd done differently is to first focus on the skill development and learning. And not going straight away and working on songs that I already loved and I wanted to do justice and finish and share. I think it would have helped if I would have had some external structure, like a course or program or something. But I do think it is possible to do it yourself with the free content on here, but then make that structure yourself at least. So I would have just recorded some random vocals and play around with them, play around with the microphone and with my voice and putting effects on it, play around with digital instruments, exploring all these options with samples and just playing around and learning. And once I've developed some skill and some understanding of the gear and the software that I was working with, then I would have started with my own songs. But I was impatient and I had these songs laying around wanting to be heard. The last thing I regret, well, regret sounds a little dramatic, but I wish I didn't get carried away as much by what other people want or say. There is so much motivational and educational content out there, which is really amazing for small artists who want to learn more about how to make it in the music industry and how to get a content strategy and navigate social media and do marketing and promotion yourself and get started as an artistpreneur. And that is really amazing if that is what you want. And that is not at all why I started this project. And it actually distracted and even discouraged me. I started this project with the idea that only a few of my friends and maybe my parents would listen to it, but mostly just me on the train listening to my own songs, just not in my head, but in actual audio. That was the dream I started with. I am a very driven and ambitious person, and a lot of the framing was like, if you're not doing this, you're lazy, or you don't care enough, or you just need to, put in the work. And because I'm so ambitious and driven, that kind of spoke to me. But if you run very fast in the wrong direction, so not in the direction you want to go into, you're only running farther away from where you want to go. And where I wanted to go was learning and creating music. And I almost started to feel like music is made to be sold, and the value of music is its market value. And with that, I started to listen to my own songs from the perspective of a random critic that I envisioned, instead of listening to it as from a perspective of my own inspiration. Don't do this to sound amateur, or do this to sound pro. But there's a big difference in learning something to sound the way you want to sound, or to learn something to sound pro, whatever that may mean, as if you're trying to pass some test or something. And of course, this is completely different if you actually want to make a living out of music and you do need to care about what other people think and make money. That's of course very different. But for me, that was the farthest thing from my mind when I started with Pineapple Tales, and I just got distracted. So lesson learned, and I'm really looking forward to move inward again. So many people have asked me, why are you DIYing this? Why are you not collaborating with people, hire a mixing engineer, a producer, or at least a mastering engineer? That's so much easier, it's gonna get so much better. And that's true, I think that would have been easier, and I also think the album would have sounded better, otherwise I wouldn't have chosen the right people to collaborate with. But I really feel like I needed to do this on my own, so I was very stubborn about this, that I wanted to do everything myself, and that is something I don't regret. Songwriting is for me a part of life, and I wanted to have a sustainable way to deal with that inspiration. When you get hungry, you can ask someone else to cook for you, but the next day you're gonna get hungry again. It's kind of like that. So, now what? Pineapple Tales is done. I can't go back into the past and do things differently, but I definitely can do things differently from now on. So moving forward, I want to keep my focus on my internal motivation and inspiration. And I want to keep learning so much more, but I don't want to worry about sounding more pro, but to sound more like me.